are. Although I forgot to bring my thing over. Good morning, everyone.
Here we are again.
Those who were up at 8:30.
According to that monitor, it looked like I'm sitting in the dark. No?
Are you?
No?
No.
It's just where the monitor's turned that way from me. Okay.
Well, you can't see it?
From here, it looks dark. It could be just me. I don't know.
What do you got for today, John?
So today, welcome to Catch the Vision, talking about leadership. And I want to say right off the bat that we don't know what the heck we're talking about, and we're not authorities of the topic, nor are we the originations of all this stuff. However, the doctrine of origination includes the fact that there's nothing new under the sun.
That is true.
So, technically, anybody that has a piece of information and shares it, that's their original share. They share it. That's where it started. I don't want to get into that because it's involved, and I already studied through that and everything. Someone said to me, "Who died and left you, boy? Who do you think you are? How do you know this stuff? Well, what makes you an authority to comment on this stuff?" Well, I'll tell you. You are just as much authorized to talk about this stuff as I am. I don't care who you are. You might be authorized to be a speaker about leadership in some college somewhere or something. I don't know. But everyone is authorized to talk about this. And a lot of people talk about this and don't know what the heck they're talking about. And there are some people that know what they're talking about. Like John MacArthur knows what he's talking about. He's been doing leadership for years. One of the authorities on leadership. But
What's the this?
Huh?
What's the this?
But we have just as much origination and authority as anybody else.
Well, what's this? You keep saying
leadership.
this.
Talk about leadership. And so Catch the Vision, this guy this morning at the 105 Cafe said, by the way, 105 South Cafe is downtown Mountain City. It's fantastic, and it's going to be a tremendous success over the years. I'm telling you right now, they're on the right solid footing. Anyway, they got good food, good coffee, good people, and I don't know. They got me.
They got you.
Yeah, watching over, praying for them. So today I want to talk about something that's interesting and really down earth is really dumb, and that is that God made us with the senses from the neck up, and he gave us 2 ears and 2 eyes. 2 eyes, 2 ears. And there's a reason for that. And if you close one eye and walk around there, you lack depth perception. And if you have one ear really deaf, like my mother used to be in one ear deaf because of an operation, she had sound perception was not good. You had to be in the right place of the room or she couldn't hear you properly. So I think God on purpose gave us 2 eyes, 2 ears, of course, to say that, I'm going to say something about this and then we'll come back to that, is that in leadership, one of the things that we need first, if we're going to go somewhere, is you have to see it. You have to come to a place where you can see it. If you don't see it, don't go there. You're not going there. You have to see it. And then my recommendation is you need to hear it. Hearing by the word of God brings faith, and faith can be engaged to have something happen. But if you don't hear what God is saying in this thing that you see, you're off on your own. It's one thing to envision a product or envision a future, which envisioning just is brain. It's just mind. I'm envisioning it. And it's another thing to see it. To actually see it. And there's some things that I see, and I tell other people that I see them, and they go, "No, I don't see that." And I go, "I know you don't see it, but I see it. And all I need to do is hear from God what he said, hear something from God, and I'm ready to dig in and move in faith." Because leadership has to see it first. And there's a lot of people out there, I see some comments, some people that talk to me and everything, and I'll say something to them, how we started, why we're talking about lack of leadership in the world and blah, blah. And they go, "I don't see that. I don't see it." I go, "Okay, I know you don't see it. But it's just too bad. I feel sorry for you because I see it, and it's not hard to see what we're talking about as far as lack of leadership.
No.
But it's hard to see some of the things we've been talking about, especially the last 3 weeks, because the last 3 weeks have been extra special. Once we got into the topic, they're very special, very important things for leaders because these are those kinds of things that are lacking in leadership causes the downfall of leadership or the weakening. There are some leadership specimens, leaders who are very, very weak, very, very weak, and are leader by title only, and that's not enough. But
This way to have skin, I would say like what I call like skin in the game. You got to want the thing, and it starts with you. Like you're the one that effectively is the driver. It's like you're the heartbeat of the thing.
But
and
you
and
have
the
to see
moment
that.
the moment that like that heartbeat kind of stops, this is how I could see this stuff. Because again, I always bring this kind of like physics orientation because that's just how I see these things as like these cascading effects. And I'll look at something like, well, why is one situation looking like this, and then why does one situation look like that? And it's like, well, because in one case over here, someone actually cares. Over here, same makeup, same group of people or whatever, no one cares. Massive difference. And just one person.
And that one sees and envisions that situation totally different than the other leader. And so one leader gets somewhere with his sight and with his hearing, and another leader doesn't have that sight, doesn't have that hearing. Mm-hmm. And so off they go. Same everything except two different directions.
Yeah, that's right.
So, exactly, good point.
And what's interesting to see with this as well, because I had to come to terms with this with my early in life leading, is I was originally going to name my book Unconscious Leadership because it was this kind of like, I kind of had this period in my life where I could like stop, think about these things, and then like write a book. And then I had realized through the process of that certain things that were bringing resources to me, i.e. people to like then accomplish things, I had no idea why that was happening. I just was like, oh, well, we're like friends or whatever. It's like, no. The reason why is because I had high drive on something, and that caused other kinds of people, which are not a leader type, to gravitate like, oh, if he really likes that, there must be something good about it. So I want to be around that. I want to hang out with that. Yeah. Now, and I'm thinking about like, for example, playing music. I had plenty of people to I've never been in a band in which we didn't have a spot for somebody filled a spot. But I'll tell you, not everybody should have filled those spots, John, and they filled those spots because of the heartbeat of the person who's running the band.
Right. And I've been there and just had a spot in the band with a tenor sax, a baritone sax. I've been in a band in that kind of way, and I thought everything I did was a waste of time, but in the conjunction of everything else, it was providing a certain sound that was important. But anyway, you brought to my mind something that I was thinking about that's important. If you are a leader and you don't have the vision, and you don't hear what God is saying to you, you will be discouraged by the naysayers. Listen to me carefully. The people that got it, get it, hear it, going for it, are always opposed. They're always going to be opposed. Have you ever noticed nobody from the town calls you up and say, hey, I think you're great. I can't wait for you to do something. I'll be with you. If whatever you do, I'm going to be with you. No, nobody calls. Everybody in your business call you, hey, I think you're great. You're doing a great job. I'm right there with you. No one is going to call you and encourage you out of the blue. They don't care about you. They care about them. Yeah, so when you get going somewhere and someone says, it'll never make it, there's no way, naysayer, you have to learn to take that naysayer as a positive. And you have to be able to see and hear what you're into, or you'll quit. You know, he's right. Yeah, I guess he's right. I didn't think about that. Yeah, boo-hoo. And down you go because you have been distracted away from what you see and from what you hear. So I'm elaborating on this a little bit because leadership needs light to see something and sound. And if you're not seeing something and hearing something, you're going to be attacked, and the enemy's going to try to hinder you. And this is what's happened to a lot of leaders. Yeah, well, leaders fall. So leaders fall. They're weak. They're human. They're going to fall. Yeah, but have you ever noticed the leaders that had everything against them and have fallen in some sorts of way, and they're back after it again? Because they saw something and they heard something that they cannot be deterred from. If you catch the vision and you got the big picture, ain't nobody going to take that away from you. Once you see it, it's not like you can unsee it. You say, no, I saw the big picture and I heard the sound to go ahead. You may have all kinds of good points, but I can't unsee or unhear it. I know what I saw and what I heard. That's why we have 2 ears and 2 eyes. Rather than, I've got one nose, we've got one mouth, we've got one head, but 2 eyes and 2 ears. Because once we really see it, catch the vision, see the big picture, I say, and we hear it, something happens inside to our knower that can't be changed. You can fall, you can sin, you can be attacked. That's why people are shot for their faith. Because they seen it, heard it, and know it to be okay. Well, they had to stick with it. I'm going to shoot you if you don't deny Christ, if you don't quit going this way. And they go, well, you're going to have to shoot me. But you can't do that if you got nothing. If you haven't seen anything and you haven't really heard, you're not going to die for it. That would be preference. But for conviction, you're going to die for it. I'm convicted about this. I know this is true. For my preference, somebody might talk me out of my preference. By the way, somebody did talk me out of a preference for sugar. I beat sugar. Sugar now no longer has me. And I have a couple of little coffees today and no sugar. That's a miracle. I've come to a point where I don't have pop, I don't have sugar, I don't need it. No, anybody told me that 4 months ago, I told them, no, I can't do it. It's impossible. But I saw it, and I heard it, and I said, this must take place. And I began to make statements to say, someone said that if you actually say, I got this, it helps you inside to get there. I don't know if that's true. But you can't say, I got this if you haven't seen it and you haven't heard it.
Well, it is true. I mean, there's sort of a cart before the horse. This is like Tony Robbins' entirety of what Tony Robbins, his whole like main shtick is this specific topic, which is like state and story, which is like, in order to do bigger things, you have to have a certain state to do that. And the only thing that does that or supports that would be a story. So your story is the thing that you believe about yourself. And so the way the way you affect your story is your state. And so you affect your state by moving. So that's why he's like a big, like, rawr, like get real loud and step on coals and all this kind of stuff. Because you get in this physiological state, and that physiological state is like a winner's state. So at that point, then once you have that certain kind of state, you review the story about yourself. So it might be like, I have cancer, so I'm weak, right? So that'd be one way of doing it. Or you go, I have the strength to beat cancer. So same person, same whatever. He talks about this stuff like all the time. I'd say probably one of the things that I pulled from, because it's like, it's such a microcosm of something that is like so true, that when, for the difference between like two people and their state of mind. So one is when there's a blizzard, some people freeze to death and then other people snowboard.
Yeah.
So like, what does that tell you right there? Like if they had the same gear, it's not like certain people are going to go out and snowboard. They're like afraid that whatever's going to happen to them. Whereas a person who's snowboarding is interacting with the thing. They both may die.
Yeah.
But one of them probably is going to have a good time and enjoy themselves. And
in the meantime,
may make it down the mountain to the lodge house and have hot cocoa while somebody else freezes up there because they're freaking out.
Yeah, I thought about that too, because someone said, no one knows who this guy is. I read a graveyard stone, and the stone said, Terry Bowden. No, you probably never heard that name. And I looked at the gravestone. It says he born here, died in 1921. And the question is, what did he do? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But if that name on that gravestone was, well, if it's more contemporary, John Trimble, you might say, he did this and he did that and he did this and he did that. And you may begin to say what he actually did. You don't get to be recognized and remembered because you saw something or you heard something. You get memorized because you did something.
Something true about that.
Huh?
Yeah.
So when you see it and hear it and you go for it and you do it, that is solidification that somebody can point to and say, I saw what he did. But this guy on this gravestone in the middle of nowhere, he didn't do anything. And now it's 100 years and nobody cares and nobody knows. Okay, that's fine. I mean, there's a ton of people. Nobody knows, nobody cares. But there are some, if that gravestone said Leon Musk, we would go, whoa, yeah, I'll tell you what he did. If it said, a president's name, oh, yeah, we tell you what he did. But the point I'm making is that we see what a person did, not what he thought, not what he took inside. A lot of people see things, maybe even hear things. There are men of God and people, preachers that have said, Catherine Kuhlman said she's the 23rd called, that God told her that she was the 23rd person that was asked by God to do this, that she finally said yes to. He called 23 to do this, and they all said no. They saw it, they heard it, he had it, they're right, but no, they didn't do anything. And so there's a difference between doing something and not doing something, big difference, and it has to do with if you really saw and heard and paid attention. I was listening to, believe it or not, Joel Osteen. Turned him on for the heck of it on my radio. And he said something that's very interesting. He said, one son, he lives by the fatted calf. As far as I'm concerned, he knows Dad is going to kill the fatted calf, we're going to party. I'm in the fatted calf lane. He said, but the older son came up to Dad and said, you never did anything with the fatted calf with me. You just gave me the skinny goat. And he said, are you a skinny goat man or are you a fatted calf man? Do you believe in the greater possibility and the greater things that God can do, or do you just take whatever skinny goat comes around? And some people are skinny goat. They're just tucked into. They're not evil. They're home. They're in Dad's home, but they don't ever do nothing. They don't amount to anything. And yet the prodigal son lives on the fatted calf. He's the fatted calf kid. And he knows that God will do things way above his performance or his ability, because people will come to you and say, I can't tell you how many times I heard it. You're not worthy of doing this, and who do you think you are? And you're this, and you're no good, and you did this, and you fell here, and you're a zero. You can't get anywhere. And I say to them, you haven't seen what I've seen, and you haven't heard what I heard, and I'm going this way, and you can balk all you want to, but I know that this is the way I'm supposed to go. And that is gold. To me, that's gold. To me, that's the fatted calf. To me, that's believing God to do something that, and by the way, I wish I could give testimony. I can't do it now, but I can see coming a big testimony. One day I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, God did this, this, and this, and I thank God for it. And he told me a month or two ago that he was going to do that and believe him for it. And it's happened. So I'll get to that one day. But it's the same thing over the years. There are certain things that God showed me, spoke to me, and we went and did it. And there are also times where we saw something, we were invited to take it, like we were at a church in New Jersey, I think, and they wanted us, Ginny and I both felt we don't see it and we don't hear it. It's not for us, and we didn't take it. And we're glad it turned out. I was glad we didn't. But if you see what I'm saying, you got to catch the vision. You got to have a big picture. You got to be. It's got to be a revealing to your eyes. That requires light, and you got to be able to hear what is being said by God in it, even if it's God is because He's just created, just because of who He is. It doesn't have to be, I had a vision and I heard God say. It doesn't have to be so super spiritual that we can't explain it completely, but you definitely got to hear Him in it, because that's why we have 2 eyes and 2 ears. And it's interesting. I said this last time. When you go to see somebody and find out if they're in the room, you don't go looking for their body or their hands or their feet, you look for their head. You look for that person. This is the real person with the eyes and the ears. He's the one that's got, and by the way, a mouth, and he's speaking about what he saw and what he hears. That's going to happen too, ultimately. Now, where the nose comes in, I don't know. But in any case, it's going to happen if the person is seeing properly and hearing properly. And some leaders are so discouraged, and naysayers come along and say, you can't do this. It's impossible. You're not going to make it. You're in a fix, and somebody would have to fix that fix in order to be fixed. Well, that's what God does. God's in a situation where he can fix a fix to fix you. That's a wonderful thing. But there are people that are naysayers and negative and no way. And then you do it, and then you close the mouths of a naysayer. Nothing better than some of these people. I was told when I left high school, he'll amount to nothing. He'll never go to college. He'll never graduate college, and he'll never amount to anything. And so when I graduated from college, I went back to see that teacher that said that to me. He's passed away now. I said, Mr. Tabor, his name was. Mr. Tabor, remember me? Yeah, what are you doing? I went to college. I graduated from college, B+, not an A, but B+. And I'm pastoring a church in this town. And he went, wow, that's great. And you told me it's impossible. There's no way I'm going to amount to anything. Of course, I was a hippie back then, so I don't blame him. But on the other hand, he was a naysayer in my life, and he no longer, well, I was happy to go back and tell him, you were wrong. So there are people that are wrong about you, and that's important to know. And I used to fight people that are wrong about me. Then I learned they're a blessing. They're the ones that are telling me, no way, naysayer, not going to. They're the ones that are going to be conquered. They're not going to beat me. They're going to be conquered. And I think that's what it means to be more than a conqueror. You're going to be greater than being bigger than them and greater and conquering them. You're going to be a greater person for it once you see and hear where you got to go, if that makes any sense to you. I feel it and sense it, but I think that's one of the things that are important for people to understand that in this day, it's dark, tumultuous, perilous, crazy, but there are men and women of God that are seeing and hearing things that they need to see and hear in order to move on, and then they enjoying faith with it, and they take off. They start doing something, and then we go, he's doing something. We recognize what he's doing. Nobody comes to you and calls you up and says, I think you can see good. I think you hear pretty good. Nobody does that. Never did anybody ever call me up and say, you see good, you hear good. They don't care. But you start doing something, and then they're going to start either criticizing or recognizing that you do this. Some people say, you can't do this. You can't. It's one of my favorite things to do. I went to this guy. He's coming down the driveway down the road here. A friend of mine lives down here. And he's coming down the road on his 4x4, and he's just about to cross the road. He's sitting there in his 4x4, side by side. I pull up along to my car, and I roll the window down. I said, hey, you can't do that. And you know what the guy said to me? He said, I'm doing it. And I said, that's it right there, buddy. You got it. You're doing it. So I kind of get a kick out of that because he said, I hear you say I can't do this, but I'm doing it. That's heavy. I mean, to me, I don't know, maybe somebody else thinks I'm an idiot, but that's okay. I'm okay with that too. So anyway, to encourage leaders, naysayers can be the fuel used to egg you on and to get you keep going, and to solidify that thing you actually see and you actually hear. Sometimes the opposite against you and the opposition is actually a blessing to you in a way. And it's interesting. You don't have to fight them or kill them or anything, because even Jesus said, love your enemies, you'll heap coals of fire, and you'll heap coals on your enemy. He just bless your enemies, love your enemies, because they're not the ones that are going to kill you or get rid of you. Don't be afraid of what they might say or do. They may be helping you see reality a little bit and wake you up to a little bit. And they may not, but I don't see them as attackers or big obstacles that are going to ruin me or distract me from the things that I feel called to do. If that makes sense, that's where I'm at. Light and sound are so important. And if you don't see it, and I might say this too, because in this world that like Mike was talking about, there are sometimes people have insight. They've already seen something, and you're maybe working for somebody that doesn't see that insight and doesn't really hear what you're saying, but you do, and the time will come. You may say it to them, no thanks, but down the road, if you engage in it or it begins to take place, they will remember that you said, I told you. I told you that there was going to be this way. I told you that this is going to happen. I made mention this to you, and you said, no. But now you see I was right. That may take place too.
Well, it's, one comment about that is it's interesting to see, because I'm seeing this in my life right now with this job that I've taken or whatever, that they've now are starting to realize that they have a person that can do all these things and reveal to them all these things that they're not knowledgeable enough to put together, like processes and how all these things link together and stuff like that. And I've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
And haven't been tapped whatsoever. And the core point that I really want to make about this was just about, again, that leadership led, that the person who's running the show, because in any of these cases, right, the person who's super motivated about it, like the person I'm thinking of, that guy's motivated. He is the heart of the thing. I'm not the heart of the thing. I could care less. If it blows up, I'll just go on to another project. I'm not the heart of this. I might, in time, take over certain kind of components to it, or have a heart for this thing that's kind of like quasi-abstract rather than like a particular project. But I gave them like a presentation, and they were like blown away. I was like, dude, this was a crappy presentation, but that's fine. But it's just one of those things that and the reason why that has now been able to happen is because this person, their iron kind of control over the project has kind of, vaporized a little bit, and it's now allowed things to kind of pop up. Because up until really this point, I would say I've been exclusively a kind of a yes man, like his proverbial yes man. And it's been a very good learning experiences, because on one hand, I really want to tell him that he's an idiot all the time. But on the other hand, I go, and I've kind of said this, like, you're running the ball. I don't want to run the ball, because you're going to have to deal with all this crap. So minimum I could do is at least try to support you in that effort to do those difficult things, even if I don't think you're doing this the right way whatsoever. And it's very clear that you're going to make not only are you going to make a ton of mistakes, you're going to make all of us go down this path with you in tons of mistakes. And what you really need to be doing is something else. And so what's nice is he's now doing those things, which has left a void, and that void allows other people to come up. I mean, I could have, for example, like tried to elbow him out of the way. I don't care like that. No. It just goes, I mentioned this story as like as an anecdote of how all these things actually fit together, because they do happen in real life all the time.
Well, another thing about leadership, it isn't always the guy out front. There are people that supported me or undergirded, helped, encouraged. They were also running with me, and they made me great. And sometimes when you make someone else great, that's really a powerful thing, because there are a lot of people that they want to be great.
He needs all the help he can get, to be perfectly honest.
You need all the help you can get.
Because again, to your point about the naysayers, you could say that I'm a naysayer, right? That, within in and among the men's, and so I've taken, and it's not like it's just how this kind of person is wired. I'm not going to overlook that things are completely wrong. I'm not going to overlook it.
No,
but
you don't overlook it.
But what I can do is I can invert that and go, not the most important thing, more than likely. If there's things where we're literally going to crash, I'm going to bring them up. And I did start to bring those up. But I'm going to invert what I'm doing to try to support this person to at least attempt to navigate through this morass that is like self-created. And in time, and I believe that's where we're at now in time, this person is now seeing and getting the hint that they don't need to run this show. And they don't even really want to in the first place, but they feel that they have to, and they're running off and doing the work that other people could be doing. And he's just starting to get the picture. It's just taken freaking 8 months or 9 months. I mean, time is like flying. It's like 9 months to figure this out.
I wish I had a better grasp or remembrance of some of these people that are great, but they always said, if it weren't for this guy or this girl or this woman or this lady, if it weren't for this one, if it weren't for that one, I would be nothing. Yeah. They made me great. That is a tremendous thing.
There's something to be said about it.
And it's part of that. That's part of leadership, really. I mean, I worked with a small church where I actually got a worship team going and a guy doing this one, and I discipled some guys that do stuff in the church. Where when I got to church, I would sit down and just wait for them to say, "Okay, it's your turn to get up and talk." All I had to do is get up and share, preach a message. I didn't have to do everything. Everything else was done by somebody else, and that made it great. To me, it made it great because really the support staff, or whatever you want to call it, were really the ones responsible for the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. And I was just merely a talking head that maybe said some direction, or maybe said some vision. But other than that, I didn't get all that stuff done. They did it, and I trained them to do that. No, you go ahead and do that. Let's see what happens. And I began to train them and disciple them to do that, so that when I was gone, they could continue. They could do what they had to do. And there were times where I left and some other speaker would come in and they would handle everything, get all ready, get the worship, get all this stuff ready. And then the guy just, okay, Joe, come on up here and talk. And they would come up and do talk. And they said, wow, it was really great. All these people here are doing everything. I just had to talk. I didn't have to do this or do that. And I knew that they were ready to handle their job. And that was important to me because it alleviated me having to do everything. You know what I mean? So part of leadership is being able to understand that that's important too. Leadership isn't just out front doing everything. That's just not how it works. You have to have an ability to see and hear those around you and delegate and train and teach every bit as much as just being out there and being a leader. I saw a picture of a leader out front, straps on. He's pulling a big rock, and there's a bunch of slaves behind him pushing on the rock, and a couple on the rock, and a few others in the back trying to help him. And he's doing all the leader, all out front. And then there's another picture of leadership, and he's in the back. He's just got his hand on the rock while everybody else is out front pulling and positioning. And the difference is he was there to give instruction, but he wasn't doing all the work. That is a tremendous insight in leadership, I think. It spoke to me. I said, yeah, you can't do everything. You can't try to do everything. And autocratic leadership does everything. Mm. They do everything. Oh, we'll do everything. We can't let them. If you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. That's just not true. That's not true. But it took a long time for me to learn that. But it's not true.
It's interesting. I do live in a domain that it's very difficult to lead people because the kind of person that can do the work, you can't just, man,
you got to be careful who you entrust
to do
stuff.
It's interesting. when I think about these things, I think about all the things that you've been involved in, John. And I say all, like, especially if you're talking about like a church, it's a voluntary universe. Now, people are going to say that, oh, everything is voluntary. It's like, it is on one hand, and then it's not on the other. There's like degrees of coercion. Coercion being the demands or pull that you're doing one activity or another. Church is a very low coercion thing. There can be, especially if you're in like one of these like kind of like established Baptist churches or like a Catholic church, there's probably a little bit higher coercion where it's like, well, you've got to go to church, right? We're obviously going to a church that you do not have to go to church. But the why this matters is how you lead in those or how you act has a much more profound impact. Now it has the same effects, so to say, that like if you lead poorly, it like will demoralize people in either situation. But when you're dealing with like in the world of man and like business and economy, there's so much coercion that helps hold the thing together. So I keep finding, for example, having to lead people that if I were to wave a magic wand, I wouldn't lead any of those people. Like they're not part of my tribe. There's a couple people that, again, like you kind of imagine like.
Don't say you don't need me, Mike. Come on now.
We're voluntarily doing this. I mean, there's plenty of times I've thought about, like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go through the effort, and it's like, no, I want to go through the effort.
Yeah.
That's different than like, John, I have to deal with people that like, they're not part of my tribe. They're not. They start talking. They show me what their interests are. They show me the direction that they're going. And I go, in my little kingdom, I would spend zero time with you. I would not, it's not like we would necessarily be enemies, so to say, but you would not be part of my group. I would not invest a millisecond of my time working with you. But the only reason I'm doing that is because this organization is like forcing me. And that's like the weird amalgamation of these giant corporations in particular, which I don't work for a giant corporation, but those are the most extreme of this. They're grabbing people from all walks of life. They're grabbing people from like places from all sorts of different cultures, and they're shoving them together. And like people wonder why DEI concepts run rampant. And it's because they have this function that they're attempting to accomplish, and the way that they're going about accomplishing it, they're optimizing for some things and not optimizing for others. So the thing that they're optimizing for is this belief that it's better to go pull people regardless of where they are and just hold them in this little ivory tower and then put force involved so to hold them together. And none of those people they're not part of a tribe. And so there are, some of these great leaders, and DI is very unleadery, but there are great leaders that build tribes and cultures, but I've never seen it. Never seen it. I've seen like maybe a little bit of that, but I can tell you that like the company I'm with, they wish they had that going. They actually have these like elements of pride that they have this going on, but it's like, dude, we're not, you don't understand how deep a culture goes. A tribe, it has everything to doing like the alignment of life of where you're going. You have to have this kind of trust of other people. And so I just bring this up because that is how a church is. Because the moment that the church, you get this sensation that you like don't fit in that group, you are not going to go. Yeah. It's very different. So the leader in that sense has to actually perform significantly better than in these other situations because the consequences are so profoundly immediate.
It's totally different, yeah. Yes, well, what's the date today?
I don't know.
13. Oh, I thought it was
the 12th. Right there, 13.
So yesterday was our anniversary of 16 years.
Cool. That's good.
I don't know how that happened. It went fast. And we're going to go do something together because we're now 16 years into it. I couldn't do it yesterday. I had to work.
Yeah.
And right at the end of the day, I got a ride I had to take all the way up to Beckley. Way above Blue Ridge. It was 2 hours way up north.
I was going to say, I don't even... Oh, yeah. Way that way.
Way up. At like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I went, oh no. But their car broke down. They had no ride. And they had 2 dogs and packed my car out. Packed my car out. So it was like...
No, you're like a lifesaver.
Yeah, he said I was a lifesaver. Gave me a nice tip. But I had to do it. But you come all the way back for nothing. You can't get a ride that pays you back. You know what I mean? You get paid to take them up there, but you don't.
Yeah, sure.
Nobody up there wants to come down here.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
But anyway, so today we're going to go do a few things and do something together.
That's cool.
And I got to go meet her soon. It's 9:07. But may the Lord give you light and you hear what he's saying.
Bye.
Blessings. Is there